Hello, everybody. Hi, Manuel. Hi, Ajay, Michael. Welcome to today's session. Really looking forward to jumping in and giving feedback. So we're just waiting a few minutes. Hi, Manuel. Hi, Ajay, Michael. Welcome to. Hold on. Hi, guys. So sorry about that. We are just waiting for Tola to join, and other people from the group to join so that we can start the session. Just want to inform everyone joining us today that the call is being recorded, as well as being streamed live on YouTube. So just a heads up for everyone to know. The reason why we're streaming on YouTube is in case there's someone who isn't on the Telegram group. Maybe there's a friend of yours that you know that isn't on the Telegram group and who doesn't have access to the Zoom link. They can log in to YouTube in order to join the live stream. So that's what we're doing today. Hopefully, it's going to be a good time for every one of us. So just let me know that you are hearing me okay and you are seeing my screen by sending a thumbs up in the chat. If you can see my screen and you can hear me okay, just please, yeah, Cosmos, I can see a thumbs up. So thank you. Is there anyone else? I want to make sure that everyone is able to hear and everyone is able to see my screen. So Cosmos, I can see your thumbs up. All right, I can see um, uh, people are still joining. We have Tola who has finally joined the group, which is amazing. Um, Welcome, Tola. Can you hear me okay? Hi, Tola. Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay? Can you see my video?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So I know we still have a bunch of people who are joining into the call right now. Um, we have a couple of people who are here. So welcome to everyone who's here. Just like I was mentioning to every other person that's here, this session also being live streamed on YouTube as well. So I put on the Instagram the link to the stream so that anyone who's interested would be able to and and take a look. All right. So that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Hello. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Hopefully today we're not gonna have network problems. Hopefully it's all gonna be good. Um, Hello, Tola. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, good. So we're just gonna give like maybe 1 or 2 more minutes for others to join, and then we'll dive in.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Okay, good. Did you get the part when I said about the live stream? So you can
Yeah,
get
yeah, look,
the link and share
and
with
share it.
everyone who cannot make this Zoom meeting. Yeah.
Okay, is that link on the group for the live stream?
Is
Okay.
that link?
We have to go to the YouTube channel.
I mean, for the live stream, if you're on the group, you can just join with the Zoom meeting. So the Zoom meeting is for those who have registered and have joined the Telegram group, but the live stream is for other people. So
yeah, exactly.
our audience, so to speak, people who are not on the Telegram group who want to watch our proceedings. So that's what that's for. We have a couple of people on the live stream. We have 2 people, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this works out and how this plays out.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Yeah.
So and that means that there'll be no need for us to upload again after.
I don't think so. I think it would
think
already just be live, straight up, online. People can just check it out and try it out there. So yeah, if we can all hear me, I mean, I know Tola said he can hear me and see me, but I just want to make sure that everybody else can hear and see me. So just give me a thumbs up in the chat, or using the reaction button to let me know that you can hear me and see my video, because we're about to dive in. Okay, Cosmos again, thank you. Can everybody else see my video and hear my audio okay? Yes. Okay. Good. All right. Johanna, thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate that. Okay. So Tola, what do you say? Do you think we should just start? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so.
Session?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So, like we started last week, the first thing we're going to do is we'll start off with an overview of what the prompt was. And so I don't know, Tola, if you want to talk a little bit about this prompt, what you expected to see, and what you saw from the submissions and entries that we saw in the group this week on Friday.
Okay. Well, first of all, I thank everyone that was able to take part in this last week's challenge, and it was a brief for a brand called Saints and Rascals, and basically it's a clothing brand, and with the target audience being 2 to 5 year old boys, and they do casual and formal clothing, and the inspiration behind it is meant to be the duality in character of people of this age range, where they can be rascally and at the same time they can be adorable and angelic and like saints. And they wanted this to reflect in their logo, in their brand identity. And what we wanted to see was a logo or an identity that showed high contrast, where we could see where we could depict that contrast between saints and rascals. We wanted an identity where we can get to see elements that are contrasting, but can also work together and be visually appealing at the same time, and not forgetting the target audience. So it has to be something appropriate for people in this target audience that we've said 2 to 5 year olds. And it must be able to work across the platforms that we think a clothing brand should work. So we're looking at something that will work on labels, something that will work embroidered, something that will work on digital displays and stuff like that. So yeah, and I guess we got quite a number of interesting submissions. So, but I think I would again commend everyone for even taking a crack at this.
Yeah, I totally agree that we got some really interesting entries and submissions this week, and everyone has done their best and put in the work to submit. I just want to say thanks and well done to every single person. So without further ado, I think we can just dive straight up into the live feedback session, starting with this logo by In Lua Casual Healing. Okay, so Tola, do you want to kick us off with your thoughts on this logo?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Yeah, because in my opinion, this is a good way to start. This was the first logo that was submitted, and I actually really like it. It's very clean. I think Inyolua has done an amazing job. And interestingly, I was expecting to see this trident halo thing a lot. So, when I saw it, I was thinking, oh yeah, it's expected. But I think, and that's the thing, when design is good, no matter how expected it is, when it's well laid out and it's clean, it works, you just kind of forget that you've seen it. Like it kind of makes up for the idea not being incredibly unique. So I really like it. I see it working. Even without the Saints and Rascals being written there, it's still very identifiable, and the composition is just really nice. The only thing I would have loved to see, or the only shortcoming of this logo, in my opinion, is that ampersand. The ampersand is in a different font entirely. It's very small, and I just feel that kind of makes it a bit too much. You understand that the fact that the font is just so different from what we have with the other font for Saints and Rasta, just looks off, and it's in a circle, and it seems like it's not part of the logo. So I just feel, even if we were to make the font for the ampersand, that's what we call the and, smaller, we should have still kept that font consistent, and it should have worked really well for me if he made it smaller and still kept that gray going on. That. So apart from that, I think Inyolu has done a really amazing work, really amazing job on this.
Yeah, I completely agree with your thoughts. I think perhaps, and this is a personal preference, was I understand that the Rascals, he kind of like juggled it to make it seem where the Saints is straight and narrow and the Rascals is more scattered. I personally, and this is my personal preference, would have kind of preferred it to be all straight, just to show, and then use things like the color to depict the contrast, as we have seen. But that's just my own personal preference. Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. Yeah. So the next one is Saints and Rascals by Olashibomi Emmanuel. I think Olashibomi is with us. Well done on this logo. I think you've done a very safe logo. I know that the point of the logo was to showcase contrast, and this is what you have done using the two triangles, the red and the blue, pointing in opposite directions. So what I'm having a problem with is the name of the brand, I think, doesn't really fit with the icon that we're expecting. And this icon seems a bit too stiff for a clothing brand for kids. That's my first impression of it, of this logo. Otherwise, other than that, I understand the font choice. I understand kind of like the colors, but I'm not sure if this really matches the personality of the brand that we are going for, or more specifically, if it has enough character for the brand that we are going for. Tola, what do you think?
When I look at this, I like the choice of font, because it's rounded, so it has that soft feel. It has that kiddish, innocent feel. The symbol, in my opinion, I just feel it comes across as a bit boring. It doesn't really have character. And as you've said, it's a kid's brand, and it kind of looks a little bit too serious, in my opinion. The only thing that kind of balanced it out is the fact that he has used a very soft, he or she has used a very soft typeface, but it's not just interesting enough. You understand? Just seems just not interesting enough. I like the concept though. Those two arrows opposite directions. It's good because, but I just feel it could have been executed in a way that it's more engaging. I'm trying to look at what it would look like if I were just to use that icon alone, and it just doesn't have um, enough character for a kid's clothing brand. Choice of color not bad. Choice of color is not bad, but I just feel you could have pushed it a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was the word I was looking for, which was the icon being a bit too simple, a bit too boring. So yeah, so let's move on to the next one. Olashubumi, Emmanuel, just take note of this and try to see how can you make this icon have a bit more character, maybe a bit more distinct. So yeah, all right, moving on. Tola?
Okay. I don't get it. I don't get it. I feel I definitely don't get the icon. I see. I'm just trying to think of what was who did it. It's from Olakunle, and Olakunle. I don't get the idea. You understand? The idea is a bit too abstract for me. Um, I don't get the contrast too. Apart from the contrasting colors, I don't really get that contrast. High contrast in this. I don't get it, you know. And when you like use elements that just seem like if they symbolize something and they are trying to crack your head of what this symbolizes, like I don't get it. Why do we have four of those squares and that yellow one in the middle? I don't know what it is. You understand? Is it a flower? Is it like a yellow table with four chairs around it? There are so many things, but none of these things actually like take my mind towards a kid's brand. You understand? So it's hard to interpret. And I'm looking at the typeface itself. Not bad, much better than the symbol. The only thing I kind of feel is that mixture of the yellow and the red in the writing of the ampersand kind of just a bit too much. So the idea is not strong, in my opinion. So it's hard to interpret. So it doesn't really pique my interest that much.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Having some technical issues. But yeah, I completely agree with what you said. Another thing I would like to add is that I don't think the icon even fits with the typeface that has been chosen. And then I think this yellow is a bit too bright for a white background in terms of contrast wise. And yeah, so those are things to take note of. My suggestion to Olakunle would be to try to work out exactly what your concept is so that it is clear. Because like right now, these four boxes do not bring up, did not call anything, like we don't look at it and recognize it as something meaningful. And that is problematic. And that makes me more likely to forget this. Because when your brain is unable to find meaning in an object, in a story, in a song, it is more likely to forget it. And what that means is that this turns out to be a very, very forgettable logo. Technically, there are also, like I mentioned, the color issues, but there's also kind of like an alignment
issue. Yeah, definitely.
as well, but that's technical. and by the way. So moving
No,
on
no,
to the next.
I was even thinking maybe we can point out what, because when we say alignment issue, the people might not get it. So maybe I want to point that out, the alignment issue.
So I don't know if you can see my mouse. So when I look down this, can you see my mouse?
Yes, yes, yes.
So when you look down this, the center line for this icon is here. And just looking at this, it seems like the center line should fall within this, especially because it has been highlighted by using the yellow and red. And so by putting this to the off center, the composition looks not balanced.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had anything else in mind, or that was a clear.
No, that's yeah.
Okay. All right, so we can dive on to the next one. So this one is by Ajayi Michael. All right, who went first? The last time
I think you can go first on this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think this is a simple enough composition. It looks visually, it looks good. The typeface you chose is a very interesting choice. One of the things that I see and I like is how the typeface uses both uppercase and lowercase in the same typeface. So you have like a small L and a small A and a capital L and a capital T and a small I. And that kind of balance, that kind of contrast is very, very interesting to me. Where I begin to wonder is with the icon. And I know that the concept is obviously to draw an S for saint and an R for rascal, which in itself is not bad. That's an interesting idea. I'm just querying the choice to go with a square edges when we have really curvy, like a really curvy font. That's my first thought. My second thought is that there isn't, other than with the typeface, there isn't significant contrast being shown in the icon mask. And so to that end, I would say that the typeface alone, if you took away the icon, the typeface alone would have been more impactful without the icon there. That's my thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you just said my mind. The icon is totally unnecessary here. And you see, and that's one of the things about design, knowing when to continue and knowing when to stop. I think this person should have just stopped with that type. You chose an absolutely beautiful typeface, and you've already shown contrast by using uppercase and small and lowercase. That's already the contrast we are looking for. So that it's already uppercase and lowercase, polar opposites. So you don't need to emphasize anymore with the icon. I think the icon now takes away from the design rather than adding to the design. This would have been one of my favorite designs if the designer had been confident enough to stop with the typeface, with a word mark. And this is something that translates even in the real world, where we are doing a logo for a client and we're like, oh man, I can't just give this person just letters. Or you understand, I need to put an icon there so that they can see the logo. You understand, we're not just satisfied with the fact that the logo can be the typeface. So you see, I would have been more, like you rightly pointed out, Yinka, more satisfied with if it were just that typeface. Saints and Rascals, I think would have been beautiful. I think it would have worked out really well.
Okay, good. So Ajay, Michael, those are our thoughts. Take them to heart. If you, like I said, we always tell people, if you want to make corrections, and you can send us, you can post it on Instagram and send it to us, and we'd love to see some of the corrections that you make to the logos that we give feedback on today. So moving on to the next one. This one is by Makinde Joshua. Yeah, Tola, what do you think about this logo?
Okay, Makinde. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I think you have an icon here that is just a replica of the ampersand you have within your your word mark already, which just means that you don't need that icon. You might as well just take it out because repeated twice here. Why there's a lot of emphasis on the ampersand, I really don't know, because the ampersand is not as important as the words saint or rascal. So I think we're emphasizing what the what is of least importance in the naming. You understand? The icon totally not necessary. I think we just celebrated a character that doesn't really communicate anything. I think it would have been better if you kept it as a word mark. Yeah, it would have been better if you kept it as a word mark, and we will now be able to see the contrast in the typeface you've chosen for Saint and using this typeface for Rascal. But I think the way it is right now, it just seems a little too complicated. If I'm going to look at scaling, the icon is just too big for this word mark, and there's no clear space. Even if I'm going to accept that icon, there's no clear space around the icon, and clear space means there should be some space between your icon and where the name starts. You can see that if I was to draw a square around, there's no way I would draw a square around this icon that you have here without touching that R. And that shouldn't happen when you have an icon and a typeface. There should be what we call a clear space, a space that nothing should infringe on with this design. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think you've captured it. The only thing I would like to add is this marking day Joshua has made they didn't pay attention to the brief because the brand name is Saints and Rascals, not Saint and Rascal. And you can imagine presenting this to a client, and the first thing they would say is, this is not our brand name. This is not what we asked you to design. And you may think that, oh, this is just a simple thing, I can just fix it. But it already shows a lack of attention to detail that is very important. The client needs to know that you are listening to them when they give you a brief. All right. So that's I think my other point that we have. So we'll move on to the next one, which is by Bright Daniel of Saints and Rascals. Okay. So here we see very simple word mark, and the contrast is shown in the straightness of the character. So we've already seen this before in one of the other logos that we've given feedback on. It's very interesting. My issue is one, I can see how the legibility, that's your ability to read the rascals, could be impacted, especially at small sizes. So that makes this a little less have visual impact. Two is I just don't think this is distinct enough. There's nothing other than the ampersand, which is a very interesting ampersand, I have to admit. There's nothing else that is visually interesting in this icon. So it's a bit too simple. And then the rascals, which is supposed to add a bit of visual interestingness, just comes out a bit too clumsy. Yeah. Okay. That's what I think. Tola?
All right. And for me, funny enough, I really like it.
Okay.
I like the contrast. I like the contrast in Saints and Rascals, the order with the Saints and the disorder that you have there with the Rascals. Yeah, it might take a minute or a few seconds to read that as Rascal, but I think eventually you will read it. But I like the choice of color. It has that pastel, it's pastel, but at the same time, it still looks something age appropriate. I can see it working on tags, on t-shirts. I can see it working. The biggest issue I have with this design is this is how much white space in your presentation. Like this, you don't seem confident in your design itself. And I think you're confident enough to make us see well. It should take a good amount of real estate on your canvas. So it just seems really small. Like I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what I've designed. So let me just make it small on the canvas. So it seems very small, and it's unfortunate because I think I really like it. That ampersand is just very beautiful. I like the ampersand. You know, it looks really good, and I think it's just really clean. I just feel next time be confident with your design and just make us see it on the page. Let it jump out at us. You understand? Rather than looking for it like a polar bear in a snowstorm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next one. We have Johanna Adeleke, Grey Mist 17, Saints and Rascals. All right. Is this from? Am I to go straight? I think I'm the one to go. Okay. So, like I understand. I think my first thought is how literal the designer has decided to, how literal Johanna has decided to go by putting a hanger there because it's a fashion brand. Um, like we said in the last feedback session, going literal is more often than not the way to go. And designers have to be very careful when they are making choices to go literal or choose an icon that is very literal. So this choice of a hanger for me doesn't really work, and takes away from the overall composition. That's the first one. The second one is I think there's already too much color, and on some level, even the colors do not match. So those are like my 2 points where the choice of typefaces is good. It can work, but pairing it with this hanger at the top, which doesn't add anything visually or make it look distinctive, because this logo could have been a logo for a laundry house, Saints and Rascals Laundry, you know, that kind of thing. So it's not distinct enough. So that combined with the colors, I think don't really work out well in this logo.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. The hanger, the no. No need for the hanger. I see. If it were for a laundry, I would say this is a perfect illustration of how an icon can fit with the typeface, because that hanger really goes with the typeface. You understand? It looks like it belongs with the typeface. But for this brief, no. You understand? Hanger, no. Because there's more to a clothing brand than a hanger. You understand? So the essence, there's more to it than a hanger. So you know, and that's why, you know, with this year's Logomarch, it's more, we say think, create, learn. I think we cannot afford to not have good ideas, because we have like 5 days to build ideas. Yeah, the 5 days might really be small in that in the real context of things, but we have to think of where we're coming from doing it 24 hours. So, you know, you have more time to think of an idea and say, oh, should I use a hanger for this thing? Does that really communicate the essence of this brand? Does that really say anything about 2 to 5 year olds? You know, does it really say anything about Saints and Rascals? And those are the kind of questions you kind of ask, you know, to even if you take 1 or 2 days to just think of the idea and just say, what can I do to communicate this brand? Then you realize that a hanger doesn't do anything to really help with that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on.
All right, sounds good. I know Johanna was in the chat room, but yeah, that's what we think. This is so if he wanted to take away, or if he or she wanted to take away the hanger, Perhaps using this dark green more consistently and reducing the amount of colors in the composition would have actually helped this composition to be better.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So next we have Abiodun Creative, Saints and Rascals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abiodun Creative. A lot of things coming to my mind right now. Number one, what's coming to my mind? This looks very familiar to me. The icon looks familiar. It looks like something I've seen. It looks like a vector somewhere, somehow. So my question is, did you create this or did you download this? Because this looks mighty familiar. There's something I've gotten on the Vectizi or something. Which is not what we want to encourage. You understand? We want to encourage creativity. Think, create. You understand? Think, create, not think, download. You understand? It's easy to, because downloading kind of defeats your thinking anyway. So I'm thinking, did you create this? How original is this icon that you have here? You understand? Because when you give this to a company and you actually downloaded it, you are setting them up for a lawsuit. You understand? You don't want to do that. Number two is we need to pay attention to the brief. Very important. We need to pay attention to the brief. I would say this brief is a clothing brand for who? Boys within the ages of 2 to 5. So I can see the image of a girl and a dress there, and that already defeats our, the audience we're trying to reach out to. The Saints and Rascal, they don't make clothing for girls. So why put it on their logo? So we need to think and pay attention to the brief. Like Yinka said earlier, paying attention, it's enough. Not paying attention, it's a big deal, and that's where a lot of designers get it wrong. You understand? They're just listening out for the name, and then every other thing that is said after the name is just lost. And you need to listen to every single thing the client is saying. You need to watch their body language and really be attentive. So for me, it doesn't work because it already goes against the brief. Um, Unfortunately, that it does go against the brief. So I wish you had paid more attention, and then it would be easier to judge this as whether it's a good design or not. But whatever I say now, it doesn't work for the brief. So I think we just need to pay more attention to the brief.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. All right, moving on to the next. We have Ask IBK with a submission for Saints and Rascals. I think this is a very interesting composition, really, really good. And we have these elements, the halo for the Saints and kind of like the devil tail, I imagine, for the Rascals. And I think this composition, this logo, and as well as the color choice, really, really captures it. The only thing that I would point out is this C, this backward C. I understand that that's just to show the rascality of just to show more contrast, but I think it is now going to stand in the way of people understanding the word rascal. So it's rascals. Is there something missing? Because the brain is always thinking about, is there something missing? And so I think in trying to show that contrast or to show the rascality, this designer has gone a little bit too much. So my suggestion would be to write it out, rascal. You already have a very interesting typeface, and these elements of the devil tail and the halo already form very, very interesting elements to this composition. Yeah, that's what I think. Anything to add, Tola?
I like the colors chosen. The yellow and what color is this? Like purple type. Right. Purple. Yellow and purple. Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. I like the halo above the eye. That's brilliant. The way they put that there. I think IBK has done a good job. The only thing is, for some reason, I don't like that R. It just seems forced. You understand? The illustration of the tail just seems forced. And I wish it could be more natural, just the way that halo is so natural in the Saints. I really wish you had thought of a way of incorporating or illustrating something that is rascally in the word rascal, that it sits so well with it. So yeah, it just seems forced. I totally agree with that. C, that S and C facing each other kind of makes it hard to read. It wasn't necessary. That's like overdoing it. You understand? If you had communicated something in that rascals um that was more natural, there would have been no need for you to do that, turning the C and the S to face each other. But aside that, I think it's really nice. It's a really nice design. Just unfortunate that you couldn't illustrate that what you wanted to illustrate with the rascals as well as you did with the saints.
Okay, sounds good. Next, this one is by Toby Creative. Saints and Rascals. Like we already said, this person also made the same mistake as I think 2 logos ago, where the brand name is Saints and Rascals, and this person has designed Saint and Rascal. So that is the problem. No client is going to accept it. But putting that aside, I think this person has done quite an interesting, composition. The devil horns, as well as I don't know if this is me, but I think I can see like a cross at the end of the saint, like a cross. Um, I mean, that's both kind of clever, but you need to be really careful in terms of trying to be clever. Do not exclude people. So there might be people that would think, oh, this is a cross, maybe, I don't know, it's a faith-based brand or something like that. So that's just something that I would like to say this designer has to be, I think, careful about. I don't know if that's purposeful or that's just the reason of the typeface that the designer has chosen. But overall, it looks interesting. I like the devil horns as well. But yeah, Tola, any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel really bad about this design, and not because it's a bad design, but because like you might know, Yinka, this was one of my favorite designs, but that omitting the S and the S in Saints and Rascals, I just felt, oh man, this doesn't. Um, it's now a different brand. You understand? And I totally agree with you. You know, when you, because people might feel, oh, it's just an S now. I just left out an S, but it's that it becomes a totally different company. You understand? The company can't use this anymore if what they registered was Saints and Rascals. So we need to be very careful about that. And for me, that's the only shortcoming this design has. I absolutely love this design. And on you see what I was talking about, what that the last design did, they'll try to force that tail to the R and just didn't look natural. This person has done the R with the horns and it just looks natural. It looks good. And when I first saw it, I said I can see the horns, but I don't see the saint. And I looked at it and I saw the cross there, and I was like, wow, that's really nice. That's really nice. And it's one of those things that it's a very clever well, it's a very clever design that even if someone found the cross offensive, they could always defend themselves and say that's a T. You understand? But deep inside they know it's a
Yeah,
cross. You understand?
yeah.
So it's brilliant in that sense. I just really wish you had read that brief better and just kept note of that name, Saints and Rascal. And it's something I've done before too. And it can be very frustrating as a designer when you don't pay attention and just say, oh, I know what the name is, and you just spend time designing, and then you show like some initial work to the client, and the client say, no, that's not our name now. Then you like wasted your time. And sometimes it's so hard to squeeze in that extra letter into what you've done. just throws it off and might just
Yeah.
end up changing the concept entirely. So please, people, pay attention to the names we give you and the brief. Look at it and look at it again and just make sure you're designing the right thing.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. Next, Tola. This one is by Imran Adeniran, Saints and Rascals. What do you think?
Imran, I like it. I like it. I like the fact that Imran has been confident enough to communicate with typeface. Didn't go for any icon and didn't try to adjust any. The contrast was just in the fact that this typeface looks different from this typeface, and that's the contrast. And I like the fact that Imran has done that, and it looks good. It looks good. Where I struggle a bit is the legibility of that rascals. Would I be able to read that if it were on a bus, a moving vehicle, and catch that was under it as rascals? If I had just a few seconds to read it, I probably wouldn't. I know very few people would be able to read that. We will get the Saints, but we'll be like, Pins and Ras something, I don't know. I didn't miss it. I didn't get it. So I didn't know what the name of the brand was. I saw Saints Chair, but I didn't know what the Ras something was. So you have to think about it. If this thing were on a vehicle moving and I just saw it on the express, I'm like, oh, I like that logo. I wonder what it is. And then had just a few seconds, would I be able to read this? So I wouldn't be able to read that, especially with that C. That C just looks like an L, so you need to be careful with your choice of typeface, but choice of color very good. Apart from that, I think every other thing works perfectly well. I really like the way you have that ampersand pushing the eye up and fitting nicely under that N. Just really nice. You understand? Just seems like a part of the puzzle that just everything just seems to work together well. I really wish I had chosen a better typeface for the last count, but I think it's a good attempt.
Yeah. I completely agree. I completely agree. My own point, and this is me nitpicking, is I would say for the Saints, for the I and the N, to round the edges. You have that I, and then you can see there's like a curve where it cuts.
Yeah.
But if you want it to seem more natural, you round the end of it, so it looks like the end of the other.
I think that's because he put a circle, just blocked it out with a circle. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
white circle. So
that little detail could have added just a little bit more to this composition. So yeah, I think we're making a lot of progress. Now we're on to the next one, which is Tipe Design, Saints and Rascals. As far as compositions go, this is a good composition. Tipe has used kind of like the halo and this call to depict contrast. He has also used, or he or she has also used the cross eye and the cross eye to depict contrast as well. Visually, this is a really good logo. It looks good. You can't really fault it visually. I think semantically though, I'm not sure, well, especially if this is a Nigerian brand, depending on the kind of parents we are targeting, some parents might be hesitant to buy a brand that has a skull very featured prominently on it. And that's just because of especially the cultural, cultural, social meanings that has. Other than that, this is a really good composition. It's a really good logo. The only question mark could be, is the personality of the brand so rebellious that, and they are targeting people who do not mind what the skull potentially means. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Other than that, I think it's a good design. What do you think?
Yeah, Funny enough, I didn't even know that was a skull. I thought it was like one of those figures you have in Pac-Man that kind of goes around and you know, I didn't know it was a skull. I didn't know it was a skull. Now that I just look at it, I realize it might be the upper part of the skull, like you said. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. Yeah, I agree with you on that. If it's a skull, um, yeah, it's a good design. It does it show enough contrast. Well, now that I see it as a skull, the first time I saw it, I wasn't so much of a fan because I didn't see the contrast. I didn't know what that creature was under that had the halo above it. But now, yeah, it might work, especially if it can be subliminal enough to get away with the score. So, like, if I were a parent and I would have bought this, and my child would have been wearing it for like 2 months before I knew it was a score, if I ever understand. So it's all right. It's all right. The with that ampersand, it's just so small, and it kind of just throws the design off, in my own opinion. I think could have made it bigger. I think I made just a little bigger. It just looks very small. At least if you had made it the height of that S, you understand, it might have been
Yeah.
better. But now it kind of looks a bit off. I think those are my only thoughts on this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nothing more to add. So Tifa, if you could maybe work on that ampersand, that and symbol, make it bigger to stand at the same height as the Saints, that would be really good. All right. Next.
Yuri keys.
Yeah.
Okay, Yuri. Saint and Rascal. So I don't think we need to say that anymore. Yeah, you already know. I'm sure as we're talking, and you already knew we're going to come to his design. Kind of, man, they're going to get me on that. And yeah, so let's pay attention to the brief. If let's assume you typed S on this, would that would this have shown much contrast? No, I don't think so. The idea is not captivating enough. If we're doing the 24-hour Logomarch, I'll be able to excuse this and say, okay, yeah, just a few, like some hours to think about this design. But this is like 5 days, you understand? Um, yeah, we would expect more in terms of thinking of the idea. You understand? The idea. If you see, one thing, I still feel like, and I might be wrong, but I still feel like people are still approaching this thing with the 24-hour stuff. So, and just the way we are with procrastinating with stuff on stuff. Okay, we get the brief on Sunday and we're like, okay, we do other things. Then it's like Thursday evening, like, oh, we have to submit something tomorrow and just put it there. It's always going to show in your work. You understand? And so you must take advantage. And another I say, if you're going to be part of this, then you need to think, I need to start thinking of this thing from Sunday and spend a day at least thinking of an idea, like a day thinking of an idea, and you would see that in the long at the end you will be rewarded for taking that time to think because you're going to come across. So I don't think that there's been enough thought that has gone into this, in my opinion. I don't think so. It might as well be any other thing. It might be a toy company. It can be any other thing. You understand? It can work for anything, and you don't want that kind of logo that if I wanted to change the company to Tola and Yinka, just to change the names, nothing will be affected. And put T where the S is and Y where the R is, and good to go. You understand? But it has to be custom. It has to be fit the company, custom fitted, bespoke, so that it shows that they are paying you to do the work and you've done it for them, and you just can't go and pick it up from somebody else out there. So those are my thoughts on this.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't think there's anything else to be said. Yorikis, I hope you're listening, or when you watch this, you're able to make the changes to this logo. Okay, very quickly, Oluchi, Divine, Samuel. Uh, Incidentally, I would say the same comments that Tola made here applies. where we can kind of see the Rascal, first of all, the brand name completely different. But then we see this logo could have been anything and anything else. One. The second thing is the way they have put this "and" in such a way to obstruct the letter S has made this less readable, even as it is, to this logo. But other than that, I don't think there's anything really unique about this logo. And what comes to my mind is if they were to do a fave icon, that is the little icon in the corner of your browser window, what would they take? What element will they take from this composition to put in that very limited space? How will they show their uniqueness? And I don't think that they would be able to do so in this case. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Anything to add?
No, I think you're spot on.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So next we have Felix Onifade and his rendition. Right. So what do you think, Tola?
Well, Hanga, no. I just feel we still come back to this issue of thought, taking time to think about it. And that's what makes you different as a designer from any of those guys working in Area 10 or Shormolu or all those places where it's a print hub. You understand? In a print hub, there are designers working there. And then people come to print jobs. And then the person that is printing the job realizes that it doesn't have a logo for what he wants to put. And just says, can you get me a logo, sharp, so I can put it on this print? And then they bring out a logo like this with the hanger ready. And the words are just there. You just need to type it in there. You understand? That's how it is when you use something as as ubiquitous as a hanger. You can use it for just say, just use I have a laundry. Can I just show you his logo? I said that hanger, use that hanger. Okay. Felix laundry. You understand? And it works. You understand? So and it shouldn't be that easy. It shouldn't be that easy for someone to infringe on your thoughts if you have thought about the design. So I feel the if you thought of a hanger, it should have been maybe like first few thoughts, and then you discard it immediately, as it doesn't really help to communicate the essence of the brand. And I guess I just use the opportunity to talk about exposure. And we need to expose ourselves as designers to good design. We must watch TV, go on the internet, look at stuff, just look at how people express brands with things that you never thought. And how those things can make you, oh, I could actually express this in this way. So I don't think anything, when we think about clothes, the first thing is hanger. When we think about food, restaurants, first thing is fork and spoon and knife. You understand? All those things don't really, when you think about anything else to do with automobile, first thing is car, tire. You understand? You need to just break out from that mold of the obvious. And just think, number one, I need to cut down the group of designers I want to be with. So if I use a hanger, that means that there are going to be like 100,000 designers I'll think of hanger too. I can't use a hanger. You understand? Then I go up. Then I just think, oh, should I use a shirt? Oh, I can't use a shirt because now I'm still in a category of like 500 designers. Until you can think of something that you think is unique enough to put you in a category of like 10. You understand? And that takes a lot of thinking to be in that category of 10 or to be in a category of 5. You understand? Not talking about being in a category of 1. You understand? So, but that means you need to take time to think. And when you use elements like the hanger, very easy to use. There's nothing unique about design. So you need to take more time to think about the design and create something unique.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agree. Nothing to add to your comments. Okay. Here we have this logo by the Froland Studios. Okay, so I'm not sure this really works for the brand. One, the icon, which is supposedly a play on F and R, is in my opinion, not well implemented. That's one. Second of all, I don't think even if it was, it would to have enough character for the personality of this brand. One of the things that you would see of all the logos that we say really work, there is a certain kind of playfulness involved. There's a certain type of playfulness, and this does not capture that as well. Also, I personally do not like. There's nothing really wrong with the typeface, but I personally don't think this typeface really goes with what we're going for. Those are my thoughts. Anything else to add, Tola?
Yeah. The icon doesn't work. The icon doesn't work. I don't know what this person's design experience is. So you might be a beginner in design, and so the icon doesn't work. You've tried to incorporate that S and R in just a unique way, and if you had kept it maybe a little simpler than this, it might have worked. But again, we cannot design for the sake of designing. We must design with the brief in mind. So I have vision contrast here. You understand? I don't really think so. We use two different colors, but that's as far as the contrast goes. And then I feel contrast can be deeper. So you see, what we're even looking out for here is not that your design has to be, because we respect the fact that some people are at the level in design where their technical skills are not there yet. But then if you can find intent, you understand that's, oh, this person just didn't know how to create this, but we can see where this person is going. That's applaudable. And then we would comment on the level of thinking that has not been backed up by years of technical skill, and can say just give this person a few more years. The thinking is more important. So with this, I don't even get the idea. I don't get the fact that there has been a lot of thought. So I mean, we need to emphasize is think, create, learn. We need to think. If you can build your thinking capacity, then you realize that you'll be able to attract more clients, and they'll be attracted basically to your thinking. You understand? So I don't see much thinking here or depth of thinking here, and I think that's what we need to strive for.
Yeah. Right. All right. So the Frolan Studios, I hope you're able to take that to heart and make changes accordingly. All right. So next is by Samuel Ternengi. I'm sure I've butchered that name.
But can you see the name? I can't even see the name. What's the name on this?
Samuel, okay, no, that's the next one. Okay, so yeah, this is at the bottom. Samuel Ternengi.
Okay, yeah, name is there. Okay.
Vera
Okay.
Creations.
Okay, all right. All right, Saints and Rascals. Does it work for kids? Not in my opinion, though. You know, the icon kind of looks generic. You understand? It kind of looks like all this place your logo here type kind of icon. So it kind of looks generic. It will work for an interior decoration company. It will work for a charity. It will work for people that it work. Like you can interpret this thing in different ways. So is it unique? No. And that's where we need to think. And I'm still going to sound like a broken record here, but we need to think of our ideas and just think of, does it fit this brand? With this, it doesn't really fit the brand. Like we saw with one of the first few designs we had, alignment also an issue. See, I expect that dot to be above the eye because that eye seems to be the central point of everything. And that's where we need to think of, you can see, and that might have been an issue this person had, aligning it with the total length, not with what seems to break the design into two, which is the ampersand. So where you now have a problem of, you don't have as many characters as you would have before the break, then the number of characters you have in Saints is not the number of characters you have in Rascals, And even if they might be the same number of characters, you have that I that has made this saint a slimmer word than rascals, which has more rounded words and more spread out words, letters. Then you need to know that you cannot stack the logo. So or you cannot make it symbol on top then the word mark below. You might want to stack the logo, this word mark beside the logo to help you get that balance. But in my option, it's not a very unique design, and that's just unfortunate about it. I think, what's the name again? Samuel. Take more time to think. Don't think of what story you're trying to tell, what you want people to see, and then try to interpret that. So I don't know what story you're trying to tell here, but it doesn't come across, and that's why it doesn't seem like it fits the personality of the brand.
Yeah, it looks like 4 people are having a meeting or something.
They're having a meeting, a board meeting about to move Nigeria forward.
That's what it looks like. But yeah, hopefully Samuel is able to think deeper about what kind of idea they're trying to communicate with the icon, in order to communicate that effectively. All right. So the next is this one by Ovier. Oh, I think I skipped one. Oh, oops. Oops, sorry. Yeah, this is the next one. Okay, so this one is by Oluwatobi Olushola, Saints and Rascals. Right off the bat, I am not sure that there's enough contrast. And if the brief specifically called for a contrast between Saints and Rascals, I don't think the typeface choice, even though I can see the attempt made by trying to use a very unique typeface for the Rascals, a non-generic, a kind of like specialized typeface for the Rascals, but I still don't think we've been able to capture the contrasts as well as possible. Just please let's make sure that our mics are muted so that we don't disturb the other participants on the call. So Tola, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely not enough contrast. Because the brief says high contrast. So it's not just subtle contrast. You understand? High contrast. The contrast is not high enough for me. So yeah, totally agree with you. I think, yeah, nothing more to be said on that.
Okay. Right, next. This one is by OVA.
Is this next?
Yeah, this is next.
Okay. Okay, OVA. It's a simple logo, and simple logos do work. This can work in reality. Does it show enough contrast? No. You understand? So it works, but it doesn't solve this particular brief where the client is asking for contrast. So I kind of see this logo, and it's like I walk into a restaurant and I ask for a double cheeseburger, and they give me one slice of bread and butter. You understand what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
highly underwhelming. You understand? They are both bread with a filling, but one doesn't just doesn't do anything to solve what I wanted. You understand? So this logo is nice. It's clean. It can work. You understand? But it doesn't solve anything about the brief. Not one thing doesn't solve about the brief. So we need to learn to listen. And this is where we as designers can get into trouble with clients, where we kind of feel a client. And I feel like a client right now that has communicated with the designer, and designer comes with a design that doesn't really do anything that I asked for. And then the designer now goes away saying, this client is so difficult. I did a clean, nice, modern logo. You see, but then you've not done anything that has solved the problem. And so that's how I feel about this. It's one color, it doesn't look like it can work for kids per se. It's not high contrast, doesn't say anything about boys per se. Um, so yeah, I feel OVA. Let's try to read the the brief, and I'll tell people this. We'll give you a brief tonight. Read it. I would advise you to even read it before you go to bed. You understand? Just read it so that your brain can start working on the design, and that breaking the brief apart even in your mind as you sleep. It will really help you. You understand? So just read the brief tonight and start thinking about it tomorrow. And it's not about turning a design on Friday for turning a design sake. It's about turning in something, number one, that will help you to learn. Number two, that will inspire other people. You understand? Number three, something we can put up and say, oh man, check out what Uvier did. You understand? Let's learn from Uvier. You understand? Those are the kind of things that kind of help us to grow with Logomarch. But we are not just putting just to make up numbers. You understand? So let's try to think about the brief more and see if we are really solving the problem in the brief and not just problems in our own head.
Exactly. So my thoughts exactly. I don't think there's anything else left to add. So we have this entry by Moving Mountain for Saint and Rascal. A lot of things to say about this, but I'll start off with the brand name. So we have here Saints and Rascal. The designer has taken it upon he or herself to replace the and, which is the ampersand, which is part of the brand name, and use this apostrophe N to signify and, which is, I mean, as a client, if it was a client and you presented this to me, I would actually be angry that you have come to rename my company that that I have created. So that's my first thoughts. This takes it more than just skipping out the S. This adds an entirely new character to the brand name, which is a huge no-no. Second of all, I think this icon is completely random. Says nothing about contrast, says nothing about kids, says nothing like in the way I'm seeing it, other than the fact that it's a happy crab. Not sure where this came from. That's the second thing. And the third thing is the use of colors. Not only is there a lot of colors, especially in the second half of the type of the word mark, we have colors that do not particularly go well with each other. So we just have kind of like random colors that have been put next to each other. So, I mean, what this designer needs to do is to kind of like go back to the drawing boards to ask what it is I'm trying to communicate and what does it mean. So look at the brief, come up with your story before you do your icon. You don't want to put this happy crab and then say like, oh, happy crab is both a saint and a rascal because he's happy, but he's also a crab that pinches people. So like that's already too much work done. Yeah, but that's my thought. Tola, did I miss anything?
Oh my goodness, man. I don't know, man. All right. I think, well, funny enough, I like when we have submissions like this because they help us to learn. And if you didn't have submissions like this and everybody's submission was, oh, so nice, so nice, so nice, that I don't think because sometimes some people just do some stuff and it just makes you know what you shouldn't do when you're designing. So the first thing I kind of ask is, what's the name again? Moving Mountain. Yeah, please can we use our names? Um, why? Why the crab? You understand? Why the crab? And I'm really I would really like to have a conversation with Moving Mountain. I think if Moving Mountain is with us in the group, you can chat me up personally, and I really want to know what the rationale was, because I don't get it at all, at all, at all. You understand? And that might be that your idea is too deep or not deep at all. You understand? And I want to really get to know where you're coming from. I don't understand the crab. You understand? I don't understand the crab. I think Yinka even tried to say, "Oh, the crab is happy," but the crab, but the crab also
I don't
pities
know.
you.
That was me reaching out for some kind of meaning.
Yeah. That's what I mean. But I feel there should be a why. And we are not artists. An artist is the person. An artist can pour paint in his mouth and spit it on the wall, and it's art. You understand? He doesn't even know what's going to come out at the end of the day. Just now, whatever comes out of my mouth when I spit out this paint, accept it like that and buy it. We can't do that in design. Design is about the what and the why. You need to solve the problem of the what and the why. You cannot just put a crab and we don't know why you're putting the crab. Do you understand? We need to know why. You understand? It needs to make that much sense. Then, okay, now I get the saint and the rascal. Why the person used multicolors for the rascal? Maybe just to confirm that. But as Yinka said, you cannot change the name of the company and just put N D as in just use the letter D. You can't take it upon yourself to take liberties like that with someone's brand name. Remember, people pay for these brand names to register these brand names. So you can't have that going. You cannot put that there. So you need to pay attention to the brief as much as possible. Yeah, and with the when you use random colors like this, green, purple, navy blue, cyan, yellow. I can't even read some of them. I need you to know that some of these colors do not even go well with each other, side by side. So there's something called a color wheel. If you are not, if you don't know how to like identify colors that go with each other, then you need to associate yourself with that color wheel. You understand? And no colors that go with each other. So the design is actually serious work, to be honest with you. And when we see design like this, it makes you know how serious work it is. So I feel for Moving Mountain, I'm looking forward to see more of your work because I've really taken interest in your work right now, and I'm going to be looking out for your work some more. I don't want you to stop putting out work because I feel for people like this, these are the kind of people who really want to see the improvement in their work
Yeah.
throughout the course of Logomarch and see what Moving Mountain did in week 1 and see what it did in week 4. Those are the real testimonials. So please keep designing, and as I said, reach out to me privately and let's talk some more about this design.
Okay, so that's good. The next logo, so I think this is the second to the last logo we have before we do the pick of the week. This is by Olaoluwa. Okay, interesting composition. Two things to note. I am not sure why Olaoluwa has decided to reduce the size of the rascals. Also, the letter spacing as well, to the point where it seems like Saints is better than Rascals. That's my first point. My second point is there is no and. I know that Olaoluwa has tried to recreate an and using this iconified ampersand or something like that, but that doesn't read as an and. It's not recognizable to the average person as an and. And so what people would read when they see this is kind of Saints Rascals with a not to the right of that. With regards to the icon in itself, other than the change in color, it doesn't show enough contrast as was specified in the brief, 1. 2, even as an ampersand, it doesn't do a really great job because it doesn't really look like an and, in my opinion. And 3, I don't think it is unique enough to justify replacing the actual ampersand of this typeface for this one. So those are my thoughts. So Olaoluwa could he has taken a perfectly good typeface and watered it down by reducing the size of the rascal and the letter spacing such that it looks less than Saint. Yeah, those are my thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add. You've already said that because with the Saints being bigger than the Rascals, there's already a bias there. You understand with the naming, so you already feel like evil Saints, Rascals, and it's not your place to de-emphasize anything in a client's name. You understand? They took the time to think of the name and every bit of the name. So I think the person has tried to show. I don't know, but show some contrast in size and stuff like that. But I think there are better ways of doing that. I think I totally agree with everything you guys said on this.
Yeah. Okay, so the final logo for today. Oh, that was the final logo
That
for
was the
today.
final one.
Was that the final one? Hold on. Yep, that was the final one by Olaoluwa. So we can jump into the pick of the week, which everybody has already seen. The pick of the week, Tola's pick of the week. Tola, do you want to talk a little bit about this pick of the week?
Yeah, this pick of the week from Inyolua. I think Inyolua did a very good job. As I said initially, it works. It works. And what I like about it the most is I can see this. I can see the icon working as a standalone, even on a dress shirt. I think the idea is not particularly unique, but the execution is incredible. So I think you've done a great job, and it stands out. It really stands out amongst the lot of designs that we have. So well done, Yolua. I think you've done a very good job.
Yeah. For my pick of the week is the same logo for pretty much the same reasons that Tola gave. It's a really interesting logo, really interesting form. I can already see this on like on a black shirt. I think the only thing I would love to see about this logo is um, implementing the icon as one color. What does that look like? So that would be interesting to see. But all in all, a very interesting typeface. And so now we're going to dive into the challenge for the next week. And so here it is, week 2 challenge. The brand name is Amebo, and the description is Amebo is a reporting app where citizens can report social issues happening in their community. The app supports video, audio, and text reports. The main app user is the youth in that community because they are the unheard in society. So the brand personality is everyday people, approachable, and conversational. So the challenge is to design an icon that is easily recognizable and can stand on its own without a word mark. So Tola, what are your thoughts about this challenge for people to think about when approaching this challenge for this week?
Okay, so yeah, so there are some things you just need to keep at the back of your mind, at the fore of your mind, is what they do. You understand? So keep that in mind. They report social issues that happen. So social issues, what are like social issues that happen? Maybe there is a riot, or there is like a policeman brutalizing somebody, or just social issues, vandalism in the area, or there's been you are living in a place and there's been no light for the past 6 months and stuff like that. So just things that might not get reported on the news or stuff like that, and just want the average person to talk about what's going on in their area. So it's that kind of app. So you need to think about that. Also think of the personality and the audience, and we're saying that it's meant to be youthful because it's meant for youth. So the brand should look young. You understand? It should be something that should be endearing to young people. So you need to think of who a youth is. And I think that we can think between the ages of maybe, let's say, 19 to like, let's say, 30. Let's just put it between those ages, 19, 30, just now 35 or stuff like that. So you need to think of something that would appeal to these people. Um, then for this, we want you to design the icon. The icon. So even with your submissions, you do not need to write the name like Amebo. We want you to really focus on the icon. What they want is an icon that is easily recognizable. This thing can stand on its own. So when you are submitting, submit the icon that we can say, yes, we all know the name is Amebo. You've seen it, but then let's look at the icon. You understand? So we don't want people hiding under the typeface is nice. No, we're not concerned about the typeface being nice. We are zeroing in 100% attention on the icon. So we want you to design just the icon. Just put the icon there. You understand? And let the Amebo be invisible. You understand? But the icon, design the icon and let's see what you can do. So think of brands like Apple. See, when last you see Apple use their name with Apple written beside it? Because that icon is strong, easy to identify. You understand? It's memorable. The same thing you might see with the Twitter logo, where you see that bird and you just know it just says everything about the brand. It's very recognizable and they can own it. So we want you to be able to create an icon that this brand can own too. So yeah, that's I think that should help you. Remember, if you have questions, you can ask questions on the group, or you can also ask those questions on Wednesday when we have our Q&A.
All right, so that's it for this week's live feedback session. Thank you so much for every single person that joined us today on Zoom and on the live stream. We're really, really grateful that you took the time to join us today. For those of us that are participating on the Telegram group, the submission for this challenge is on Friday. Immediately after this call, we'll post the challenge image in the group so that everyone can have access to that challenge. And then remember that there's going to be a Q&A session on Wednesday. So if you have any questions on the challenge, on the prompt, on the brand name, on whatever it is, then you can join us to ask the questions that you have. So thank you so much, Tola. Any last words before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just want to encourage us, read the brief, and take time to think. Don't jump that thinking stage. Don't start this on Thursday, please. By all means, if you can give it like an hour, 2 hours every day, that would be great. And you would see the results at the end of the day.
Okay, sounds good. All right, see everyone else on Wednesday in the live session. And thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful week. Take care.